Hi friends and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to try something really fun that I haven't done on my channel before. It's going to be a tag challenge, and that is the book recommendation tag by Steph Borer. So I saw Steph do this on her channel and I was so excited about it right away because I've always wanted to do one of these tag videos and I don't really know my way around this. I wasn't really sure if there were any going around or how to approach this, and now I've got one and I can do it finally. So, and if you're not familiar with this challenge, it's basically like a prompt for a book and then I'm going to say which book I would recommend for this specific question that is being asked. And let's jump right in with the first question. The first tag is a book that you tell people is your favorite. And this one was pretty easy to decide, and it's actually the same one that Steph said in her video. It is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is just my favorite book of all time, I would say, and that's also why I recommend it to people if people ask me which one my favorite book is. Especially because it's like the perfect mix of literary fiction, it sounds smart, but it also includes a romance, and that summarizes my taste in books the best, I would say. So yes, this is what I tell people when they ask me which book is my favorite. The second one is a book that is your guilty pleasure, and I actually have two with me because I would say any book John Green has ever written is my guilty pleasure. Not because John Green is a bad writer of any sort. I love his books and I love his style of writing, but it really isn't 2014 anymore. But in my heart, I'm sometimes still a Tumblr girl, and that's why it is my guilty pleasure, because of what it represents to me. So yeah, John Green books, really good, but still kind of my guilty pleasure. And the third question is a book that everyone loved but you didn't. And for me, that's this one, The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I really wanted to love this book so much, but I just didn't. And I already mentioned this book in my most disappointing books of 2022, and I know a lot of people will never understand why I don't like this. And it is such a big hype, but yeah, it just kind of wasn't for me. I'm so sorry, I really wanted to like it. And the fourth one is a book that you read the fastest. I don't actually have this one with me because I read it as an ebook. And it's really random actually. It's the first book of the Bridgerton series, which I haven't even continued reading. But yeah, for some reason I read this one very fast. I think it only took me a few hours. And that is so weird because I don't usually read any historical fiction or historical romance anymore. I used to when I was younger, but I don't anymore. And I didn't really see why it was that special that it made me read this one so fast, but it happened and I was kind of hooked. Even though I know there's a lot of controversy about this book as well, so I don't even know if I would recommend this to anyone. But yeah, that is the book that I probably read the fastest from all of the books that I read, like in the recent years. And for number 5, it's a book that deserves more hype. And for that, I'm going to be plugging a German book because German books obviously aren't as popular, and this one has been translated to English, so you can go and read it. This one is a romance book and I loved it. It was very good. It's called Cherry Red Summer by Carina Bartsch. And actually, it's part of a series of books and it has one of the best tropes ever. This book is about Emily, and Emily's first love ever, Elias, is back in her life. Elias is actually her best friend's brother, and they hate each other, obviously, because he's arrogant and so good looking. And even though they are now again living in the same town, they don't really get along well. So Emily actually turns to a guy she's meeting on the internet, and that guy's name is Luca. And so there's kind of this situation going on that she now is talking to another guy, and yeah, she now has to decide which one of them she actually likes. And it's just so good. Please, if you want to pick up a good new romance, then this one is one that I would highly recommend. And this one really needs a lot more attention because books from international authors don't really get that. So that's it. The sixth one is a book that is becoming a movie or TV show or has become a movie or TV show. And the one that I really loved was this one. And this is the German edition of The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I don't know if I pronounced his name right, probably not, but I love this book and I love the movie as well. It's such a good movie and the book is great. I read this book before I even saw the movie, I believe. And this is one of the ones where I think the movie adaptation is really great and represents the atmosphere and theme of the book really well. I think Steve Chbosky also was the director of this film, or at least had a lot of say in the production of the film. And it really shows. I can recommend both the book and the film. And there are so many great actors in it. There's Emma Watson in it, Ezra Miller and Logan Lerman. What else could you ask for? So go read this book and go watch the film. The seventh one is a book that you have reread the most, and I'm really going to expose myself there. It's kind of embarrassing, but the book that I have reread the most is Twilight. I loved Twilight so much as a teenager. It was just everything to me. I actually reread Twilight for 10 times minimum. Because I remember saying like, oh my god, this is the 10th time I'm reading this book. I was so obsessed with it. And I know that it was a book that I took on holiday with me, even though I had read this before. And I think I was even able to like recite some of the lines, especially the ones in the beginning. And I was such a brat, but I even once took the book and put it upside down and was like, I'm going to read this book upside down now because I know it inside out and I want to read this as many times as I can. So yeah, I was really into Twilight. I haven't reread this book in a long time though, so yeah. Book number 8 is a book from a genre you don't typically read. And the one I chose is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, because this is my all-time favorite thriller. And I don't usually like thrillers, but this one I loved. For people who love thrillers, this probably isn't that special, or they probably were underwhelmed reading this. I don't know. I know it's very popular, so maybe I'm wrong there and people like this, but for me, as a person who doesn't usually read thrillers, this was just the right thing and it made me realize what kind of thriller I like. So yeah, I loved it. Fun fact, I didn't really plan on reading this. I didn't buy this myself. I just randomly found it in a hotel. You know, these hotel shelves where people can put the books that they don't want to take home with them. That's where I found this. And I just randomly decided to pick it up because I had heard about it before. And yeah, I loved it so much that I took it home with me. Next is a book that deserves all the hype that it gets. And I could have probably chosen many books off of my shelves because I tend to read a lot of popular books for some reason and I tend to enjoy them. There's nothing wrong with liking things that are popular, and this is one that I definitely loved. Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I don't need to say anything about this book, it just makes me happy. And if you haven't read it, read it. Read it now because I think it will make you happy too. Number 10 is a book that you usually recommend when people ask you for recommendations, and for me that is Normal People by Sally Rooney. And the reason why I recommend this book is because I don't usually read a lot of literary fiction, but I don't have many people in my life that read romance or even fantasy, and that's why I have to recommend them literary fiction because that's all they are reading. And So I end up recommending this book because it's one of the literary fiction books that I really like. Yeah, this one is the one that does the trick because it has a romance story in it, but people will say it's smart. And this one is one that I can still recommend to them with a good conscience because I really liked reading this one. Number 11 is a book with your favorite characters, and that one is actually a series. It's a fantasy series, and the first book in that is The Amulet of Samarkand, and the series is called Bartimaeus. At least that's how we pronounce it in German. I have no idea how it is pronounced in English. The series is by Jonathan Stroud, and it's one of my absolute favorite fantasy series of all time, and mostly because of the great characters in this book. They are just so funny. The main characters are really just hilarious. I was laughing out loud while I was reading this, and I have reread this a few times and I still laugh when I read it. That's how good it is. And over the course of the books, you get really a deep connection to them. There's just really this great balance of humor and deepness in these books. That's just doing it for me. So yeah, these are some of my favorite characters of all time, I would say. The next one was a bit of a hard one for me to choose which book I could take, because the question was a book you wish you could live in, and I don't really have that. I know that's weird for some people because they're like, I would love to live in this fantasy world or in this world. Yeah, no, I like my world. I like being in my reality. Honestly, most environments are too scary and I wouldn't actually want to live in them, especially nothing dystopian. Anyways, I chose this one, House of Earth and Blood, by Sarah J. Maas, and yeah, I don't actually know if I would want to live in this world because it is a bit scary, but I'd love to have some of the powers the people in this world have. And there's angels. That's pretty awesome, isn't it? I just love the world building in this one, but still not sure if I would want to live in this world or in any fantasy world, really. Because most of the time bad stuff happens, and I don't want bad stuff to happen in my life. I only want it to happen in books, rather be reading them from the safety of my own home. Number 13 is a book you thought you would hate but ended up loving. And for that I chose Me Before You. The reason why I thought I would hate this book is because it deals with topics and themes that I don't usually like reading about. Usually these topics make me very sad and I don't enjoy it. But in this case it worked for me and I loved reading this book. I know these topics are very hard-hitting and also very controversial, but I always like when books make me think and kind of make me question what I believe in or what I believe is right. And yeah, this book definitely did that. So it's definitely one that stayed with me for a really long time after reading it. Number 14 is a book that made you cry, and there are so many. I cry easily. I cry easily while reading and just in general, so yeah. But I chose one that really made me bawl my eyes out all the way through. This book, oh my god, I still remember sitting on the sofa and just crying so hard I couldn't even really see the pages anymore because I was sobbing. And the book that made me do this is All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. You know I had to put one Colleen Hoover book on this list. This one really got to me. It's just a topic. If you don't know this book, it's about a couple, Quinn and Graham, and they are married actually, and they are struggling with their wish for having a child. And that's like one of my greatest fears in life. Man, this list is really making me admit a lot of things. So yeah, that's why this book really got to me. And yeah, it was just very well done. I really connected with the characters. Oh yeah, I did. Definitely one that I won't reread though. And the last number 15, is a book that you wish you could read again for the first time. And for me, that is Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. And it's just, I remember the feelings I had when I first read this book. It was like falling in love myself. I just felt everything that the characters were feeling so strongly. I just think I won't get this feeling again when I reread the book, because I know what's going to happen and I know the characters already, but this was just really such an emotional and intense read when I read this the first time. This feeling is one that you can't really get back when rereading a book, and it's also a really special one, which I know I won't get from probably any other book. So yeah, that's why it's the one that I wish I could read again for the first time. Putting this list together has been so much fun, and I really hope that there are going to be a lot more challenges and tags going around on booktube again, because why not? It's just such a cool way to connect and easy way to get many great book recommendations from a lot of creators out there. And yeah, please, if you haven't already, take part in this. It's so much fun. See you again in my next video. Bye!